welcome to this impulsive random video. The topics discussed in this video will be touched on further in videos in the future. This was unplanned, I just wanted to make this. So, and there will be another video later this week, per scheduled. Anyways, so feminism and witch. I've talked about how both have had bad connotations throughout history and correlated and intertwined, etc. So I'm just going to make a little small rant on that, and then I'll make a little small rant on my other thing that I want to talk about. Alright, feminism and witch have similar yet different patriarchal negative connotations in history, okay? Both have been words used for only horrible, bad women who must be ugly, evil, trying to tear apart the Christian American family and values. And the women have been persecuted, and obviously in the tone of witch, been murdered and killed. When both are actually strong and powerful women, men, and everyone in between who are either fighting for equality and justice or trying to empower and heal themselves and the world through their spirituality. Both are rooted in femininity and the idea of it, which I'm going to get into in my next part. For thousands and thousands of years, witches saw femininity as strength, power, and fertility, as well as nurturing, which again is going to be part of my next little rant. So it has both masculine and feminine of today's Western society's anthropological view of what a female and a male traits are, according to gender. Okay, femininity that has been talked about for thousands upon thousands of years within various types of crafts, when talking about the goddesses and femininity included, again, both what's current Western Christian patriarchal society deems feminine and masculine, which will tie into the next part. Feminism breaks the mold of the patriarchal binary that in order to be nurturing or kind, you cannot be smart or powerful. Even thousands of years prior to Christianity, patriarchy began to dig out of the depths of the underworld. But prior to the goddess and god marriage, for at least 20,000 years, pagans of various strains worshipped a goddess. There wasn't like a god who then had a wife who was a goddess, or numerous women that he impregnated and had children with. It was just one god, an earth goddess, a mother goddess, mama, okay? So, for at least 20,000 years, they were doing this, worshipping a goddess who embodies what modern society deems masculine and feminine. Now, that will get me into my next little rant. Okay, that I had written like a couple weeks ago and posted, but I wanted to put it in video format. Okay, so the next part is, I hear a lot of people talk about, oh, this is a very uncomfortable position. I hear a lot of people talk about paganism and witchcraft being for cis women, or the men included are also cis, and this can be very commonly true. I'm gonna keep adjusting, and I'm not taking this out because I like to show my quirks. But yeah, so in that, there are, I'm not gonna deny, strains of paganism, especially in certain strains of Wicca, many actually, in which the coven will talk about a biological aspect of the male and the female and joining together, or you have Dianic Dianic witchcraft, which is deemed feminist but is very turf oriented. Okay, not always. It does depend on the coven, and I want to specify that because I don't want to get hate on that, because I'm talking about in general the majority of the covens and how it was rooted. Also keep in mind that modern neo-paganism and Wicca were created by cis men. Okay? That's why we got to go back to the origins of what femininity was. And for a lot of current Wiccans, pagans, witches, all backgrounds, they do see the divine feminine as not being femininity as today's societal standards. So yes, there are those other groups of people where you'll go into a coven and you want to join, and they'll have the men, and there'll be a big coven, right? And they'll have the men and the women separated. Men have to be fire and air, and women, earth and water, all that kind of crap. And it's based upon not just the binary expression of gender, but also the sex part, of the male and the female joining together. And trans people feel not included, and a feminine gay guy, which I actually read an article that a feminine gay witch male wrote about, where he felt very uncomfortable in those type of situations. I'm not going to deny that those type of things do not exist, because they do. But when we look at the basis of what it's supposed to be, the divine feminine, as I mentioned earlier, is talking about something in which femininity is completely different. It is something in which the strong female woman embodies both masculine and feminine traits of today's binary. Okay? So the woman may be all about fertility and love and nurturing, but she's also strong, she's also a warrior, she's also this. And keep in mind too, again, that for 20,000 years at least, it was practiced in which women, or it was just a goddess, not a god and a goddess. So this whole coming and joining, combining together, doesn't even make sense. And the goddess was, when we're talking about matriarchal societies in general, they don't tend to be very anti-male, or where men have to be a certain way, women have to be a certain way. It's very much about everyone just being whole as a person and coming together. If you read books like Maiden Mother Crone and the various other books, it's not, when you look at the history of the craft, it's not like that. And the old matriarchal societies were not like that. Okay? They just weren't. They would have included the gender non-binaries or the gender queer. I'm gender queer. Okay? But when I'm talking about the divine feminine, I'm talking about putting together all these various types of traits. I'm not talking about femininity as it stands in today's society. Also, another thing about me and my practice is that, yes, I talk about embracing your inner goddess. I talk about all these various goddesses, dispelling the way patriarchy and Christianity has created them to be and changed them, even changed the idea of the underworld and all that kind of stuff, and blah-de-da-de-da. I'll talk about how important it is for our period cycles to sync up with the moon cycle. Mine does come right at the new moon, and how that increases that power. But that is talking about my sex. That is not talking about my gender. And femininity and masculinity is about gender expression, which is a whole different thing. That's for a political vlog channel, which maybe I started one, maybe I'll go back to it eventually. But all I'm trying to say is that paganism can be inclusive, and it should be inclusive. Of all of the religions and spiritualities and all that out there, the one that is rooted in nature and rooted in freedom and openness and is so attacked by the outside world and mainstream society as a whole, that should be the one that is the most accepting. And not talking about alpha males and, oh, a fair maiden. No, no, because it wasn't like that for 20,000 years of pagan background. And even when it did start to be a god-goddess balance, it still wasn't like that. Only in certain areas was it like that, which we'll get more in depth into in a different video. So that is pretty much what I wanted to say. I also want to point out that even with those groupings that I brought up earlier that do exist, that I cannot deny and say, no, it does not exist. There is no, like, transphobic or whatever non-inclusive aspects of Wicca or Thelemic or any type of pagan or whatever. Think about this, though. Out of all the things out there, when you're talking about like Christianity, Judaism, all of this, how accepting are they? Even with those horrible groups that I do not condone at all, there's still a little more open-minded to it. But that's not an excuse by any means. Also, that leads me to my final thing. Again, going back to, it's what you make it. Okay? And that is why I went and decided to be eclectic and to be solitary. Because I want to base my stuff off of what not just feels right, but also off of historical evidence, historical facts, the history of the spirituality. You know, it's kind of like those Christians who just cherry pick things out of the Bible and then say, oh, gay is bad because of this or that. But then they still wear mixed different types of cloths, like I am currently doing, wearing, you know, polyester yoga pants and then, you know, cotton. That would have been a sin in the Bible, in the same area. It's the same thing here. If you aren't looking at everything, history, and you're just looking at something that was now man-made, created, in like the past 100 years, then that's on you. But to me, paganism, Wicca, whatever form you want, can be inclusive, and it should be. The divine feminine proves that to me. I'm going to put in the description box below. I mean, it's not, I would have preferred more focus on like the original like Venus of Willendorf type idea and how paganism was rooted involved too, but there was, I guess, some events that occurred, and there's a slideshow online that I'm going to link below that talks about gender non-binary and then a divine feminine. And again, I'll get more in depth into this in the future. This was just a impulsive rant video. There was one last thing I was going to say, and now it's like out of my mind. If only I can remember it. Oh, I guess I'll have to bring it in the future, right? Alright, so yeah, you can comment below. I will talk back. I always try and respond as much as possible, so if you have something to say in regards to this, go for it. Other than that, I love you all. Oh, I remember. No, I'll use that for a different video. That's more about like how much more that's more for the feminist in general thing. But yeah, inclusivity should be important, and I wanted to also make that part in this video to be able to make everyone feel comfortable who may not feel comfortable when I'm talking about just this whole feminist aspect, because they might think I'm getting in turf territory, to understand that I am in no means meaning it that way. When I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about it in a different way. So, alright, there will be a normally scheduled video, because I am trying to keep up every week, later on this week. I don't know for sure what it's going to be. I had something planned, but with the whole love crap going on right now, I was going to do Aphrodite video, but we'll see what happens, or like an altar or whatever to do for Aphrodite, but we'll see. Otherwise, I love you all. Please check out my links below, my shot, tarot readings, all that kind of stuff, and subscribe and like and share and all that great shit. I don't care about swearing. I'm a small channel and I'm getting demonetized, but I don't really care. I don't even get money from I don't care about that monetization thing anyways. So, love you all. Blessed be. See you in a few days.